here with Rhonda Blair, our case manager, to talk about surrogacy and to understand what surrogacy is. Welcome, Rhonda.
Hi, Isabella. Thank you. My name is Rhonda Blair. I am a lead case manager here at Fairfax Surrogacy. I have been in the surrogacy industry professionally for almost 11 years, and I am a former gestational carrier, and I've had 4 total journeys with 3 different families and delivered 5 beautiful babies for those families. I've carried for same-sex couples, heterosexual couple, international and domestic. So I've got a wide variety of experience personally as well as professionally to be able to best assist our intended parents and our gestational carriers throughout their journeys.
Wow, fantastic. We are going to start by learning the heart of surrogacy and why people choose this path. Our first question is, what brings people to surrogacy and what patterns or stories stand out to you?
It's a great question. So everybody comes to surrogacy for so many different reasons. Um, the majority of the reasons that we find are that a heterosexual couple physically cannot do it on their own. That means that intended mother has some type of medical condition where she can't carry her own child. And with that, there's a lot of struggles that happen because they're coming to us after being told that this is something that her body's not going to allow her to do, which is a natural thing for a good amount of women. So it's a real struggle for them to make this big step. And so we want to make sure that we hold their hands as much as possible and support them and really find out what it is that processed them that they needed to come here for surrogacy so that we're aware of different parts of where we can better support them and guide them and know what areas they might have concerns in throughout the journey. On top of that, the other big one that we see all the time is we have same-sex couples, and same-sex couples, male same-sex couples, absolutely cannot do it on their own. They have to have a woman involved to carry their child.
Mhm.
So we know that typically they are coming to us in an uplifting point, and they know that they're planning to grow their family. This is how they have to grow their family because they don't have the right genetic material to carry a child themselves. So that's the
And
big things that we see of why people come here to, use surrogacy to grow their families.
your own DNA babies.
But it's not always their own DNA babies. Sometimes they do need additional assistance. So maybe the intended mother cannot have eggs that are viable. So she might need to use an egg donor. Or maybe the intended father isn't able to produce sperm. So then they have to use a sperm donor. So there are so many varieties of families that are created through this process. I've even seen intended parents that have used donated embryos from somebody else to create their family. So there's no right or wrong way to create their family. And I know this isn't quite in the same thing, but I'm going to share a little personal information too. Um, Sometimes
Absolutely.
intended parents struggle with the fact that this isn't their own genetic child. And how are they going to feel? Are they going to still have the love? And is the baby still going to have that love for them? And I'm going to tell you, absolutely. I'm adopted and I loved my mom until the day she died, and I still love her. But that never changed, even knowing that she wasn't biologically related to me.
There is a saying in Spanish that mother is not the one who gave birth, but the one who raised the child.
I love that.
So it's true, motherhood is beyond biological connection.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree. I didn't know any of this stuff that you're telling me now. That's amazing. That's good to know. You see, I'm learning.
Yes, yes.
What did you wish more people understood about surrogacy?
I wish people knew all the emotions that goes into. For the surrogate side, I wish that some surrogates would have additional empathy for the intended parents and know that they've been through so much. Sometimes it's hard for them because they've had successful pregnancies, they've had no struggles. So they're like, oh yeah, we got this. It's great. It's perfect. Where the intended parents have struggled to get to this point, and they're uplifting and being excited for it, those parents are still cautious and nervous. On that side, I wish more of those gestational carriers knew about that. But as far as in the world side of things, there's so many countries that don't believe surrogacy should be allowed, that it should be illegal, that us surrogates are selling our bodies. And that's not the case. And that's not how we feel. We
Exactly.
don't feel anything like that at all. It's all about being able to do something to give back to somebody and to help somebody. It's really is that emotional connection, not to the baby, but to doing something very special and important for somebody else.
Yes, people think that you are giving away your own baby, that you are producing babies like a factory, and it's not like
Yeah,
that. They didn't understand it's a process that you, as a surrogate, also go through because you had to go through the process of getting pregnant. Being pregnant is not easy in general. Every
yeah.
pregnancy is different too. So, what about the hormones in your body? What about the cravings? What about the extra weight?
Absolutely. And sometimes it's difficult for intended parents to realize too what the surrogate's life looks like. The gestational carrier's life is so busy and active with her work, her family, her hobbies, her partner, whatever it might be. And the intended parents don't have all of that yet. So they can't see the other side of things, but they will. They will soon have that other side of things. So.
Exactly. So people who are out there criticizing about the path of surrogacy to become parents, they really
Mhm.
don't understand everything behind the scenes in the process. And also with the intended parents, as you said, they might not be pregnant themselves, but they are pregnant with the gestational career because they're also calling her, are you okay? Are you eating? Are you feeling all right? If you go
Mhm.
into the hospital, I want to be there. But when they're long distance, they're even more worried because they can't be there. So they had to count on the agency in this case, right?
Mhm.
It's a very complicated process. It's not easy. So
Ab-
so for people to
Absolutely. And the
think
big
it's
thing I say about that too is communication. Intended parents and surrogates should constantly be communicating about what they want to hear and
Mhm.
what they don't want to hear. So if the parent, the surrogate, the gestational carrier is not going to tell you necessarily if they're feeling the first flutters of that kick, if they're nervous that the intended parents don't want to hear that because it would be painful to them. So that open communication of what the intended parents are comfortable hearing and what the gestational carrier is comfortable sharing is huge. So communication is a huge thing in the journey too.
it's important. It's the number one
Absolutely.
rule for them to be able to go through. How has surrogacy positively impacted the lives of intended parents and their families?
So everyone's gonna say because they have a baby, which is true. Like obviously that's a huge thing, and that's the reason everyone is doing surrogacy.
Exactly.
But beyond that, you make amazing connections through the surrogacy world. So you're making connections with your gestational carrier, maybe even her family. You're making connections with other intended parents, or if it's a surrogate, or if it's a gestational carrier, you're making connections with another gestational carrier. For instance, in my very first journey, I was on a support page and they were doing a gift exchange. So I decided to join it. The woman who gave me my gift, her and I have been connected for these last 12 years. In fact, we actually got to work together a couple of times.
There
So it
you
was
go.
amazing.
Oh my gosh. It's great.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. There's so many connections that you make that you don't even expect to make these connections and have these new friends or family. And I'm not saying they have to be family. They can be friends or long lost cousins if you want to call them that. So,
So creating communities. Surrogacy
absolutely.
path. I think these questions that comes has a lot to do with what you're just saying. In what way does surrogacy contribute to society, families, and communities beyond just creating children's and families?
So you're right. It is like a very
Yeah,
similar question to what how I just answered that one is everyone
exactly.
has these really good connections and you'll see a lot more empathy in the surrogacy world than you might outside of the surrogacy world as well. Because I know I said earlier that we kind of hope that some of our gestational carriers have a little bit more empathy to understand, but it's difficult for that. But they do have more empathy than some of these other people that might be out in the world because they are giving up their time. They're giving up, their time with their family, their time with work, their time for their hobbies to be able to carry this pregnancy for intended parents. And the intended parents, they are trusting someone to carry their pride and joy, their baby that they have been waiting for so long. The community part of that is huge because you're adding more empathy to the world, you're adding more trust into the world. And that just doesn't stay within that surrogacy world. It just vibrates and comes out through everything that they do. So that empathy comes out from the surrogates and the intended parents, and that trust comes out from them both as well.
It's not just the connections between the families and in the gestational careers, but also the community that's creating beyond that and the love spreading around it.
Mm-hmm. That's
Because
great. You said.
yeah, for me, a gestational career is like the comparison I'm going to be doing right now. When a religious person has a call and it's you had to have a call to become a religious person, right? It's the same for a gestational career. She has a call to be able to help someone with a family because, oh my God, you're going through all this. For me, it's a call. They have to help. That's the way they help. So it's,
Absolutely. And when we
yeah.
talk to some of our gestational carriers, they say that they've been talking about or thinking about surrogacy for a long time. So most of them aren't just like, hey, let's go do this. They're like,
No.
I've been thinking about it for the last 3 years. I've been doing some research. I think we're
Yeah.
ready to do it. So, yeah, it's definitely a calling. And
I-
in my instance, like once you do it once, you're going to keep going until they tell you you can't.
Exactly. I do recall one of our surrogates that came to us after going through few ones that she was rejected for any reason, but
Mhm.
she was fine to become a surrogate and she became a surrogate with us. She's like, I was gonna cry if you guys didn't, if I didn't pass because I really wanted to do this for a long time. I searched, I researched, I thought of couples that I could help and it was something I really want to do. And she's so happy when she made it. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. Oh, so now we're going to be talking about the meaningful moments and stories that stays with us, with you. And we're talking about all this behind the process. Now let's do the emotional part, which is also important. Well, very important. Is there a moment or a family story from your work that has stayed with you and why?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one. So there are a lot actually. And are we talking about negative ones or positive ones?
You, whichever is the one that stands out to you, it could be positive or negative.
All right, so I will do two. I will do a negative and a positive. The
Mm.
negative one is I had a gestational carrier who was having a miscarriage. She called me. We were talking on the phone. I was providing her support, and she miscarried and delivered the baby while I was on the phone with her. She had no one there besides me who was talking to her, and she went into great detail about what she was seeing and what she was doing and asked for what should she do. She was still pretty early in the pregnancy. She had just hit her second trimester, so it was still fairly early. So I gave her the advice of going to the emergency room, taking everything with her to the emergency room. I would connect with the intended parents and let them know what was going on so that she could just focus on herself. I would give her the information, reaching out to attorneys to let everybody know what was going on, and just being there to provide her the support, as well as talking to our mental health professional who could be available to speak with her if she needed support that way too. That
Mm.
story has stayed in my head for many years because of how detailed it was, and I was the only one there to assist during that time.
Oh, wow. That might be tough to go through.
It
Poor.
is. It was one of the toughest ones I've had. And I called my manager at the time after we got her through everything. And I'm like, I'm done for the day. I can't help anybody else. I don't have the capability to do anything besides try to process this. And my manager's like, go home, take the time,
Too
reset.
too
So, yeah.
emotional to proceed. Oh, goodness.
And some people think we're case managers and that's just our job and that's what we do. And we're just people behind the screens. But I will cry with you. I will laugh with you. I will jump up in the air for you. Like sitting at home, you don't see it. I'm tearing up just thinking about this journey, so, that story. But let's move on and talk about the happy one. So,
Yes, yes.
okay.
I was gonna say that you become part of their family too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving
So,
on.
so the positive one that I can remember is these intended parents had a gestational carrier and they had their transfer. She became pregnant on the first transfer. Everything was going great. We get to about 20 weeks of pregnancy, and the intended parents decide to share because the pregnancy is going great that they had tried to transfer their last and final embryo right before she transferred hers, and they were pregnant as well. So they were both pregnant at the same time, about a
Oh,
month
goodness.
apart,
Between
talking
two
about,
separate moms.
yeah, yeah, and they were talking about their cravings, how they're feeling, baby movements. It was such a special journey. Mom delivered. I was able to provide her support too during her delivery. And then mom, baby, and dad were at the hospital with the surrogate when she delivered too. So there's pictures of both babies next to each other about a month apart. So
That's
it's so
amazing.
amazing. It was a story that stays with me because it's
Oh
not
my gosh.
something you see often. We just had to give
No.
it one more chance before we did it. But she had lost a lot of her pregnancies in that first trimester, so she didn't think it was going to stay. And amazingly,
That,
she had two beautiful babies within a
mm,
month of each other.
that's amazing. That's a gift of God too.
Yeah, absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely.
I
And
bet that
I've got
story must be beautiful to talk about. I mean,
It
to talk to her
absolutely is.
about.
And there's so many more stories that I've had because, again, I've been doing this for 11 years. There's positive ones, there's negative ones, and they all stick with you. Like the really big ones stick with you. And if you mention a set of intended parents and a surrogate, I can remember their journey and going back to it and like, oh, I remember this happened and that happened and this was great, or this was just a smooth sailing journey, but there's bumps in the roads with everything typically. So,
Wow. So emotional. You
yeah.
get all that into you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Has there been a case that changed how you see your work or the surrogacy process?
So I would say probably yes. Again, I've been doing this for 11 years and things have changed so much in those 11 years. Coming here to Fairfax Surrogacy, I love it because I'm able to make more personal connections here with both the gestational carriers and the intended parents. I'm not just saying, okay, how did your appointment go? Thanks. All right, moving on. I can say, how did your appointment go? How are you feeling? How are the kids doing? We just had a huge, massive storm that hit several parts of the country. So I'm reaching out to those carriers and the intended parents. Are you guys doing okay? Did you get hit by the storm? Where and other things where I was at, we didn't have those connections. And I think having those connections makes such a difference, and it not only it shows that we care about our gestational carriers as well as our intended parents, and they're not just another name on the line and moving on to the
Exactly.
next one like a typewriter. Ding, we're done. Ding, we're
Yeah,
done. It's
exactly.
correct. Yeah.
What we have in Fairfax Surrogacy is definitely human-centered. We're not here to do business. We're here to create families. And by creating families, we mean connections, we mean love, we mean nurturing, we mean forever.
Yeah.
Staying
Absolutely. And
connected forever.
there's things that pop up in particular journeys that we learn from. And we're like, ooh, this didn't go so well. Let's add this to our new protocol or a new way to do things. The surrogacy world is ever changing, so we have to change with it. We have to be there to provide the support properly for everybody too.
Agree. Surrogacy process is like every pregnancy is different, so every
Yeah,
process is different.
absolutely.
What moments make you most proud to work in surrogacy?
So I would say a couple of things. Obviously, getting to that finish line when that beautiful baby is born, and or babies, sometimes they're twins, being able to see the pictures of the parents with their baby, or even the surrogate with their baby, or all of them together with the babies, is huge. It just makes my heart swell even more to know that I was a small part of this and I helped this occur too.
Is to see the fruit of your work.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the most important part of surrogacy. They're all happy. They have their babies, they're having their families, their birthday parties,
Mhm.
college graduation. I bet you have one of those by
Yes.
now. Oh
Yes, and
my
I love
goodness.
hearing the information about those babies as they're growing. Again,
Exactly.
I know not everyone's open to social media, and that's completely fine, but send me those pictures. I
Uh,
want to see those babies growing. I want to hear about how are they doing? What's their favorite toy right now? Is it a truck? Is it this little dolly they have? I want to know all of it. So, because
Right.
it's so amazing to be able to see them growing and that you were the small little part of making that happen.
I know. It must be beautiful to see them.
And then the other thing with that too that I love is sometimes we'll get intended parents or gestational carriers that will write a review about how much I helped support them throughout that journey.
Oh, the
And
reviews.
just hearing that brings tears to my eyes again. Okay, yay, I did my job well. And they had a great journey. Even if there were bumps in the road, we got through them and we managed them together. Recently, there was a gestational carrier who wrote one that I like made me cry again. And she called me a mama bear. And I'm like, yes, I will take
You
that.
are
I'm going to
Mama
be here
Bear.
and I'm going to take care of you and make sure you've got what you need. I'm going to take care of you, the intended parents, make sure you have what you need, and just give you the best journey possible.
Yes. When you see the reviews, it's like when you actually see what they think of you and the process, because they don't tell you. You're just going through and they don't tell you. But when they actually review us, it's like, oh my God, they thought about me this way. That's beautiful.
Exactly, exactly.
It's good to know. It's good to know. So now we're going to go behind the scenes of Fairfax Surrogacy. We're telling the stories that the process is important. It's a connection. It's making families, not just with the gestational career, bringing the baby of the family to become parents, but also the family connection with the agency, case manager in this case, you or any other team member that work with the parents in the gestational career. So Fairfax Surrogacy is a little bit different than others because we do believe that connections are not as a business, but as a human. So
Mhm.
we would like to hear a little bit more behind the scenes. And what does a day in the life look like in your role as a Fairfax Surrogacy case manager?
That's a great question. I'll just give you like a day-to-day play. So I get up and get into my office. I start working on my computer. I check emails to see what needs to be responded to. And then I go into my journeys and I'm looking at my journeys and I'm looking at my intended parents who are considering Fairfax surrogacy as their partner in their journey. There are so many steps involved in the process of an actual journey that we need to make sure we don't miss anything. We have created a ton of tasks. So that way we don't forget any important step that comes up throughout that journey. All right, we've hit that second trimester. In that second trimester, we need to send them the second trimester email that gives them important information about what to expect in that second trimester. We need to make sure that the parentage order is working on and completed. That's the legal documents to put the parents' names on the birth certificate. If they're international, we need to know that their international attorney has been involved so that the parents know what they need in order to get citizenship for their child back home. We talk to the gestational carriers and the intended parents about breast milk or cord blood banking. And there's so many other little things involved that we're like, we don't want to miss any of these huge steps. So we've got tasks that we put into place for them so that nothing gets missed. So we work on making sure that their journeys are successful. We also, again, like you said, that human touch. Not only are we just making sure we're doing all of that stuff, but we are reaching out to the intended parents, to the gestational carriers, having great conversations with them, talking to them about their life and trying to be more involved in things. Now, some intended parents and some gestational carers are all for that. They're like, let me hear everything. I want to know everything. And others are more reserved and they're like, I'm not sure I really want to communicate that much yet. I just want to, like, here's what's happened with my appointments, or here's what's happening that you need to know. So we vary ourselves based on what they need.
Yes.
There's ton
So there is the human connection, but there is the work behind too.
Yeah,
The
there's
process of
tons
the
of
work,
emails, tons
the
of
list.
text messages, phone calls. So all of that is involved in a day. You start work and you are never not busy. So you're
Exactly.
constantly going. Yeah.
Never be, yes, you're always busy, never not busy.
Yeah. Yeah,
What part of,
exactly.
yeah. So what part of your role do intended parents or surrogates not usually see, but makes a big difference in the journey? I think you just answered a little bit.
Yeah, I did answer a little bit of it, but there's so many steps that we take in the background. So we are communicating when intended parents are getting ready to match with the gestational carrier. We are putting together a financial package for them to share with them what is included in the package that they've purchased, what's not included, what that gestational carrier's compensation looks like, what part of that might be included in their package, so that they're prepared for what that journey financially might cost. And then going into that, and then we're doing other things behind the scenes. We're sending medical records to their fertility center to see if that gestational care is going to be approved. We're communicating with that fertility center after she's matched, making sure that that medical screening is taking place, finding out if there's extra steps that gestational carrier needs to take, working on booking travel for that gestational carrier for that medical screening, following up with the fertility center. Did they receive their clearance? Are she good to go? What are we waiting on? What do we need to do next? Notifying attorneys that we are good to go. She's medically cleared. Here's all of the details. They need to draft that contract. Following up with those attorneys consistently. Who has a contract? Have you reviewed it with the intended parents? Have you reviewed it with the gestational carrier? Is it ready to go out for signatures? Is there an issue that's happening that I can help facilitate? Because I can talk to both parties, whereas the attorneys can only talk to their clients. Then from there, making sure that the fertility center knows that the gestational contract is completed and that they can start the process for that transfer cycle, making sure gestational carrier received her medications. How is she doing with starting those medications? Which are questions intended parents ask, but they're nervous to ask their gestational carrier because they don't want to be intrusive. So those are questions I know intended parents want to know. I am the one asking those before the intended parents even ask me about that. Giving everybody that support through the process. Moving into the confirmed pregnancy. Now we're making sure her insurance is up to date. We're making sure her insurance is up to date way before then, but making sure that she's seeing the doctors that are within network for her, and getting OB re-summaries after the appointments to make sure that the parents can see what's happening in that pregnancy as well. Paying the gestational carrier's medical bills, making sure there's nothing that gets missed. Confirming escrow is sending that gestational carrier her compensation, her payments, no lost wages, anything that happens. And then when we get to the time where it's getting close to delivery, now we are drafting a birth plan where it tells the intended parents and the gestational carrier and the
Wow.
hospital how to treat everyone, who's in charge of what, making sure the hospital has a copy of it, making sure the hospital has everything they need, being on call at all hours of the day for
Mm.
emergency situations that might arise. There's things that we've missed. We've missed family dinners because an emergency has arisen within our journeys. So there's tons of things we are doing behind the scenes. And there's even more that we're doing after delivery too.
Yeah, actually, the next question I'm going to ask, I think, would be the coordination of everything. So,
Yeah.
what's something about your role or the work you've done that most people wouldn't know, but makes a significant difference in the journey? You just said it, the coordination.
Yeah.
And it's that, and you're on call at 24/7,
Absolutely.
all the
So the
time.
The only time we are not on call is if we are on vacation. If we're on vacations, we leave our phones at home. Our phones are forwarded to another team member. Our emails are notified that another team member is going to be in charge. And we notify all of our active journeys and our retained intent of parents that we are going to be out of the office next week. So if there's anything you need right now, you need to tell me now so I can get that handled before I'm out of the office the next week.
That's amazing. Wow.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Wow, wow, wow. Fantastic. So now they know that we're talking about all the stuff behind the scene.
Absolutely. So I've got an example of it. Just this summer, I had a gestational carrier who I got a call at 7 o'clock at night from some stranger I don't even know who said that my gestational carrier is getting taken away on an ambulance. So I immediately found out as much information as I could. I coordinated with the intended parents, let them know what's going on, coordinated with the gestational carrier, and was texting with her, following up with her. I was up to like midnight until she was finally released and went back home. So she ended up, well, I'm not going to go into details of what she needed, but she ended up being able to come back home and rest and relax, and then followed up with her doctor. But from 7 o'clock at night to midnight, I was up working, making sure I knew everything to be able to keep everybody informed. And in those instances, I always tell the gestational carrier, don't worry about telling the intended parents what's going on. Just tell me, I'll make sure everybody knows so that you're only texting one person, or put us all in a group chat so we can all know what's going on.
Yes, I have heard you and seen you going through those emergency calls many times. Oh my goodness, all of you guys are amazing. I mean, beautiful work. So now we're going to the support balance in real life challenges. How do surrogates balance their personal lives with the surrogacy journey, and what support is available to them?
So that's a great question. So when they're coming into this journey, they are educated about what is required of them. So they do
Mhm.
know ahead of time that, listen, you have certain appointments you have to make, there's medications you have to take, and there's travel involved for that medical screening or that transfer. So they're made aware of this so that they understand the requirements. And then obviously they're reminded of the pregnancy requirements. An appointment every month until we get to the eighth month, where it's every 2 weeks, and that last month of pregnancy, she's getting seen by the doctor every week. Now, they do have sacrifices that they have to make because they're taking time away from their job or their family in order to be seen by their doctors, taking those medications. If they have a partner and they are in that transfer cycle, they are also sacrificing the real intimacy with that partner because it's not allowed until the fertility center allows them to have those connections again. So they're sacrificing
Oh,
that too.
wow. What about the diet? Do you need to have a diet?
So for the diet, some of that is being sacrificed too. Most of the gestational carriers know what they're allowed and aren't allowed to do. Obviously, the big one that everyone knows and that they do have to sacrifice is coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, but most people are. And when you are in a surrogacy journey or you're pregnant, you're really not
Exactly.
supposed to drink coffee. Typically,
Exactly.
your contract might say one caffeinated drink a day. It might be more specific. It might say none. So those are requirements you're going to have. There's certain things you can't eat based on your doctor. So like some of the fish and some of those other things that just aren't safe for pregnancy.
Exactly. That's
Um,
in every pregnancy too, just not for the journey, but when you're pregnant, you do have a strict diet
yep,
or things that you
absolutely.
can't. Yeah.
You can't just go to McDonald's every day and say, okay, we're going to be good. No, you've got to get those fruits and those veggies in there and get everything so that you're giving that baby a well-balanced diet. Now, mind you, there are some intended parents that come on occasion that have requirements for their gestational carrier's diet. So someone might be a vegan, or someone might have real strong feelings because of religious beliefs regarding not eating pork or something else. So when we have intended parents like that, those requirements are included in their profile. So gestational carriers are aware of it. So the gestational carriers, even though they've read this profile, we make sure that they saw that. So
They
this
can.
intended parent is not comfortable with you eating pork for your entire journey. Are you good with that? And if they are, then we're like, okay, then we can do this match. If you aren't, it's okay. It's okay if you aren't. We have other intended parents that we can share with them. And then things like
Mhm.
that would end up going into their gestational carrier contract as well. So that way everybody is aware of those specific requirements.
Okay. Yes, it's important to know that since the beginning.
Yes. And just kind of talking about that too, really quick, is another thing I would mention is if depending on how strict your intended parents are, because we do on occasion have some very strict ones. And I haven't seen one of these in many years, just saying that people have eased up a little bit. But I did have a set of intended parents that were very strict on what that gestational carrier ate. And she on occasion would send them a picture of them getting ice cream. It's like, they don't want you to eat ice cream, so don't send them a picture of your kids eating ice cream because they're going to think you're eating ice cream.
Oh,
So everyone needs to be smart and know that, okay, yes, your gestational carrier ate ice cream, but sometimes they just need that. If it's not something they're doing every single time, you've got to give a little bit of a leeway, but the gestational carrier needs to be smart about things too.
yes, decisions they need to make, especially in front of a camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody lives by their cameras nowadays. So,
Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, surrogacy can be an emotional and financial commitment. Have you seen finances play a role, positive or challenging, in a journey between intended parents and surrogates?
so I have. So there's a couple of things with that. The first one is here at Fairfax Surrogacy, we typically offer a fixed fee package. We do have other packages as well, but we estimate the cost of an entire journey and we require those funds to be added into that escrow account prior to an embryo transfer. What
Mhm.
that means for our gestational carriers is that there's no concern that they aren't going to be enough funds in that account to cover medical expenses, lost wages, or anything else that comes, or her compensation that comes up with that journey. I do have a story about that. In my previous place of employment, we
Mhm.
did not offer package options. So parents were putting funds in, and all the funds were estimated at the beginning to be in escrow, but sometimes there's more funds that are needed. So she had more medical expenses, there's more things that are needed. So in the middle of the journey, we are asking intended parents to send more funds into their escrow accounts. For this one journey I had, the parents were really struggling and she delivered baby and we were still short escrow funds to cover her entire compensation. The parents were putting funds in for her compensation every month for the last 3 months. And this last one she delivered, and she had to wait almost a month for those funds to arrive to her.
Yeah.
Plus financials for medical expenses. So it was a constant battle that we had for that.
Wow. Wow. So there are moments that could be important in finance.
Absolutely. But again, here, we don't have that because we do require funds to be sent prior to that. Those back then, those weren't fixed fee programs. It was, pay as you go type things, but all of the compensation had to be in there. But that was the only requirement back then. And I'm talking like 8 years ago. The world has changed since then. 8 years ago, it was only required that the gestational's full compensation had to be in the escrow account prior to an embryo transfer. Nothing about all the extra expenses that occur within there.
Wow. Well, at
Yeah,
Fairfax, we take care of everything.
we do. And then for like the intended parent side, um, I always remind our gestational carriers to think about them. This is not an inexpensive way to grow your family. It is a very costly way to grow your family. And not all of our intended parents have money just laying around to pay for this. A lot of them have been saving or have been refinancing their house, or their families are providing additional funds, or they're getting loans to pay for this. They are struggling just to get to this point to make this happen for them. I always remind our gestational carriers, like, we shouldn't be talking finances with intended parents or surrogates. You guys should not be talking about that with each other. Those are questions that come to us as the case manager, and we can navigate them based on what your gestational carrier agreement is. Yeah. So
Sure.
everyone just needs to make sure that they are aware that not everyone is just throwing their funds out to make this happen. A lot of intended parents, they struggle to get to this point.
Thank you so much for telling us this. It's important. So now we're going to the role of trust, safeguards, and professional. What role do professionals like agencies, medical teams, and legal counsels play in making surrogacy possible and safe?
So, what I'm going to talk about here is the difference between using an agency and not using an agency,
Mhm.
and the risks behind it, as well as some of those things that everyone's like, oh, I saw this on TV, or I read this article. Don't believe all those things you see on TV or articles you read.
Yeah.
Using an agency is going to be the safest way for you. You're going to have someone there to protect your interest, both the gestational carriers and the intended parents. We are here for you both. We are here to make sure everything goes smoothly, to ensure that the gestational carrier's name is not on the birth certificate, which none of our gestational carriers want and none of our intended parents want. They want their names on that birth certificate. We
Correct.
are here to help with any hiccups that happen throughout the journey. Not every journey is a smooth ride. Not every journey you get a transfer and it's perfect the first time and we have a uneventful pregnancy and delivery. There's typically a couple of little bumps in the road. Sometimes we have big bumps, but that's why you've got the agency here to support you throughout those bumps.
Also, the
And then,
agency connects them with the legal and medical and in the consult, right?
yeah,
You guys take
absolutely.
care.
And having the professionals that you trust and believe in are huge too. So obviously, you have your fertility center that you're working with, and you're going to trust that your fertility center knows what they're doing, because most intended parents don't just choose one fertility center. They look at different fertility centers before making that decision. Same with attorneys. If they come to us and don't have an attorney yet, we're going to recommend several different attorneys for not just the intended parents, but for the gestational carrier as well. And
Mhm.
these attorneys that we recommend are ones that we have worked with in the past, that we know how they work. They have good experiences. They are very dedicated to their clients, and they're going to do what's best for them, as well as making sure that we have a good escrow company. So that's a huge thing too. There's a
Mhm.
lot of things that have been in the news about escrows lately. We do not hold escrow in our agency. We don't want to do that. We don't want to take the responsibility. We work with outside professionals who we have worked with for many years, who have a huge insurance policy if something were to happen that's going to protect your money for these intended parents and the money of the surrogates. Because if that money's already in escrow, and the surrogate is already pregnant, we want those funds to be able to get to her. So, having a good array of professionals in your journey that you trust and you support is huge, because when those bumps come, and there are bumps, now you have someone to turn to help you through those, whether it's your attorney, whether it's an agency, whether it's something that happened during medical that you need questions about. You've got that group, that community to support you through it. So when you're doing it independently, when those bumps come, now you're having to navigate them yourself. So if you're,
Yeah.
let's say your gestational carrier is turning to you and saying, hey, I want more money, and we're in the middle of this pregnancy, and you don't have a contract, you don't have any say now, because now you have to do what she wants. She's holding you hostage because she has your baby. The good thing is the fertility centers nowadays will not allow intended parents to move forward with a gestational carrier without a legal contract. So that is a given. But if you're just drafting a contract from your friend who's an attorney and they don't know third party reproductive laws, you
Mm,
don't know the right wording to protect
mm.
yourself. Or same with the gestational surrogate. You don't have the right words to protect yourself. So always having those professionals that specialize in surrogacy or third party reproduction is huge.
Exactly. It's huge, important,
Mhm.
important.
Yes.
It's better to be with an agency.
And then with Fairfax Surrogacy, we do take care of all of that. So all you're really focusing on
Mm.
is your journey and your gestational carrier and your intended parents. So you don't have to worry about, is this bill going to get paid? Is the parentage order going to be done? We take care of all that. Like we talked about earlier, that's things that we do in the background.
We make sure that the women that work with us are in perfect mental state and they understand what we're
Yeah,
doing.
absolutely. And we do require that their partner is part of that mental health assessment too, because that partner plays a huge role in the journey too. So we require that the gestational carrier and her partner have a mental health evaluation, as well as the intended parents. And most of fertility centers are going to require that as well. But we do take it one step further and we require a mental health evaluation with all the parties as well. So that's going to tell us that this journey is going to be a good journey, and they're going to be able to talk through some of the stuff. And then, if heaven forbid there is a major issue in that journey, we can reach out to that mental health professional to come back into that journey and help support them as well.
Important. Is there a moment where a legal step or safeguard made a big difference in a case or helped protect a relationship?
So there really is. I can think of one that we had, not Fairfax Surrogacy, but one that I've had in the past. There was an intended parent that was too involved in the journey. And what I say with that is he wanted to just surprise the gestational carrier and show up at her house on occasions and expected everything. And he was changing her medical appointments. So she'd show up to her appointment and it would be scheduled for a different time because he changed her appointment and didn't tell her. So the attorneys did have to get involved with that and ask him to take a step back. Communication changed where she was communicating with me directly and not with him. But he was still protected that he was still legally that parent. He could be at the hospital for delivery. Baby arrived. He took custody of baby right
Oh,
away, and everything went well after delivery. But that last month and a half, 2 months before then, things got a little crazy. Now, mind you, this was also during COVID.
oh
So there were
no.
so many other concerns that this intended parent, who
Um,
was a doctor, had because of that. So there was some reasoning behind it, but the attorneys put these laws or these rules in place in your contract to protect both sides, to make sure you guys are doing what you're supposed to. So there's another one that we had. There's things that gestational carriers can be in breach of contract for. So if they're not communicating with intended parents, like telling them about appointments and how they went, they're leaving their state after a certain point of gestation. They're not allowed to do that because of the safety of the baby, as well as the legal parentage. Parentage is drafted in one state. So if she left the state after a certain time and she delivered the baby unexpectedly in a different state, now these intended parents aren't legally the intended parent of the parents. Now there's all these extra steps that have to happen. So that's why having that legal contract in place is huge to protect both sides.
wow. Wow. I
Mhm.
couldn't believe things like this could happen now that I
They
hear about
can,
it.
and they
Yeah.
do.
Wow. So legal aspect is also very important in this process.
Absolutely. And then that's the same thing with having an agency. We were able to help navigate this. So if they were doing this independently,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have that support from us. They would have to figure
Yeah.
out how communication would happen. They would have to be rushing through all of these items on their own instead of letting us do all that stuff in the background so they can focus on what was important.
Correct. Thank you so much for letting us know all this beautiful memories of yours, but now we're going to go and learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
So, the people behind the work, what did you enjoy doing outside of work that helps you stay grounded or inspired?
So I have quite a few different hobbies that I do. One thing that I do, and we just had one last night, is I'm actually a Girl Scout leader. So I
Oh,
help to inspire young girls to become leaders themselves, to become independent, to be confident in who they are. And we're at the stage where my girls are ninth graders in high school. So they are running their own meetings, and I am just there to help facilitate and keep things on track as much as possible. So that's one of those things I do, and that's another of my giving back to the community too. Again, I have this really big heart, so I always want to give. So I'm finding different methods for that too. My hobbies, I am very outdoorsy kind of person. Right now, it's really cold out here. I'm in the Chicagoland area. So in the winter time, I actually compete in crawler competitions, which are RC cars, where I am crawling over different landscapes, trying to get
wow.
through the path without hitting any of the gates. I won't toot my own
Wow.
horn too much, but I am pretty decent and I've won the competition a couple of times in the past. Hopefully this year or two, but we shall see.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wow.
In the spring, I'm big on riding my motorcycle. I have my very own motorcycle and I am part of a women's only riding social group. So it's not a motorcycle club. It's an actual social
Wow.
group. We get together and hang out where we can have rides that it's only women riding together instead of me riding with just the boys.
That's
Um,
amazing. What kind of a motorcycle did you have? I love
So I actually have, it's a Harley and it's an Iron
Barbie.
883. So it's a little sportster. It's not a super big bike, but I enjoy my little bike.
That's fantastic. I want to learn how to be on it, but I'm so scary and I think I'm gonna fall or something. I'm
Yeah,
clumsy.
so I am much safer now than I was with my first bike. So I had my first bike when I was, I think it was like 25 when I got my first bike, and I had it for about 10 years. And then I sold it to help with my family. And then just about 3 years ago, I got another bike when my husband decided he was ready for his bike again because he hadn't had one in about the same time. And I sat on the back of it and I'm like, nope, can't do this. I need to ride my own again. I'm a very independent woman, so every time we've done things like that, we've had to always make sure I have my own because I don't like to sit on sides. I get too bored.
Oh, that's great that your partner and you have the same hobby. So
Yes,
you
yep.
share.
Yeah, he does the crawling as well. And then during the summer, we have a pool, so we're in our pool a lot. And we also have a boat, so we are out on our boat a lot. We have a lot of toys. We'd rather spend money on our toys than do a whole ton of savings where we can't use the money. So we also have a camper and a campsite that we're at in the fall or the spring through the fall. So
Oh,
lots of things.
wow. So you don't get bored. So not only that
No,
you're very busy at Fairfax, you're also busy outside Fairfax with your own life and hobby and family.
yes,
That is
absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. And when we're camping, we cook everything outside unless the weather's bad. So we're cooking on coals or a flat top or sometimes even directly on the fire itself.
Wow, that's great.
Most people would call it glamping because we're inside an actual camper. So like
Ah,
you've got spot, we've got running water and all of that stuff.
these also keeps you grounded. So you connected to families, to kids through
Yeah.
the nature, and you get connected to the families at Fairfax Surrogacy, and also with the team as well. And you are Mama
Absolutely.
Bear.
Yes.
You are Mama Bear for us.
I definitely am. Like, that's the other thing too, Isabel, as you know, we have such an amazing team
Mhm.
and we have those personal connections with our teammates too. And you can't say that with some of the other agencies out there. I
True.
know what you've got going on in your life, Isabella, and
Yeah.
you know what's going on in my life. And we know when we're struggling, we know when we're having great days because we
Yeah.
share it. We have a group message with our entire team where we share the positives and the negatives so they aren't just on us. They can help
Exactly.
support us with those
We became
negatives.
family.
Yeah,
I said the Fairfax Surrogacy is like the mom of all. We're all sister.
yeah,
And when the gestational carriers come, they're part of the sisterhood and you guys take care of it. I say
yeah,
you because
absolutely.
I can say that I hear you, I follow you, we talk all the time, and my admiration for you as a mother, as a coworker, as a professional. I think Fairfax Surrogacy is just beautiful. It's
Yes.
beautiful.
I agree.
But
And then with all my hobbies that I have, I'm also a mother of four. And
oh,
my oldest is 23 and he's married with my two granddaughters and his wife. They live
beautiful
right down
baby.
the street from us, about 10 minutes away. So my granddaughters are 18 months and 2 months. And
Oh my God.
then yeah. We get grandma
That's
and
full
papa
hands.
time too on occasion where we get to watch the girls and the parents can go out and take a little bit of time for themselves.
Busy, busy, busy.
Yes. And then we have boy girl twins who are 21. They were actually conceived through my husband and his ex-wife through IVF. So we have that personal connection to IVF as well. Our son is still local here and goes to community college and he works. And then his sister just graduated college and got her first full real life job. So she's starting her now a full adult life as a member of the community. And then we have a 15-year-old who's our ninth grader, and she is very active and involved in quite
It's
a few things as
beautiful.
well. And then I forgot one activity. I am a huge rugby fan. So we are big rugby fans.
Oh,
We
wow. How
all
did
have
you do
played
all this?
rugby. Yeah, we've all played rugby in the past. My husband and I still compete in one tournament a year. And in those tournaments, we get to play with our adult kids. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, wow. So you see, you're connected to this whole thing. Your family
Mhm.
is huge. You are a former gestational career. You have the IVF connection. Then you go to the community, you give and you receive. Working in it is a call as well.
Yeah. And whenever anyone brings up surrogacy in my everyday normal life conversation, I'm like, oh, I got something to tell you about that. I can help you with that. Let me get that taken care of. What do you want to know? I'm happy to share it with you. So I'm as passionate about surrogacy now
Yes.
as I was when I first became a gestational carrier.
Wow. We're proud of you. I am proud to be part of this team. I'm proud to have you all in my team. But with this beautiful conversation, I don't want to end, but we arrived to the end, and I want to thank you so much for sharing all these stories, beautiful memories, and for telling us what surrogacy is a little bit more, a little bit deeper than what people think it is. And I just love and hope that people can listen to us and learn. Thank you so much, Rhonda, for staying with us, for sharing once again. And you have a fantastic rest of the day. And we'll see you in the next episode. Anymore.
Thank you, Isabella, for letting me express some of my thoughts and feelings regarding this amazing world of surrogacy and, of course, Fairfax Surrogacy. So I hope some of our potential intended parents, current intended parents, potential gestational carriers, current gestational carriers have learned a little bit about the process and feel more comfortable working with us.
Exactly. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.